and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail, and I'm a writer and film fan from California. This week's episode is all about Fortress. It's a 1992 science fiction action film from director Stuart Gordon, director of movies like Reanimator or Robot Jox. Some consider this a largely forgotten science fiction gem of the 1990s video store era. Not like it's Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall, but a movie that's got a bit of a fan base for its action and old-school practical effects. And of course, the Highlander himself, Christopher Lambert, plays the lead. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that. So any criticisms are meant to be constructive. This review will contain spoilers, and I'll do my best to call them out for you as they come up. Alright, let's get into it. Fortress 1992 review. The Highlander can live forever in prison. Fortress is a science fiction action film that pops up in underrated or cult movie lists or receives its underrated praise on forums like Reddit. Fans call it a cyberpunk B-movie worth your time. And while I thought this was some straight-to-video fare, the film had a theatrical release and has turned a decent profit, grossing $48 to $65 million at the box office against a budget of $8 to $15 million. But I've always been skeptical of its ways. And just take a look at this movie poster. It's got Christopher Lambert's face on it. You know, that guy from Highlander and who played Raiden in the original Mortal Kombat movie. There's him in a stoic expression, and a lot of blue and green zooming through and past his head. Have I always wanted to know what's in Christopher Lambert's head? Not really. And the movie's critical reviews wave red flags. You can find it at 38% on critics and 40% on audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. But the film was directed by Stuart Gordon of Reanimator, and its themes, exploring the potential downfalls of a dystopian future and one-child policies, corporate control of systems like a prison, seem all the more timely in our current moment. I was ready to put aside my hesitations, fire up Tubi, and see just what this movie was all about. So is Fortress a good movie? The plot of Fortress. The year is 2017, a future 25 years post the release of this movie, and everything has gone into a militaristic, dystopian hell. Despite that, a former Black Beret soldier, because Green Beret wasn't good enough, named John Henry Brennick and his wife, Karen, are headed across the Canada-United States border to Vancouver. But a guard discovers Karen and John have tricked the anti-pregnancy scanners and that her womb is full of child, a serious crime because it's their second baby. As the alarm sounds, the couple flees. John is captured while Karen escapes. Soon, he is sentenced to 31 years of imprisonment in the Fortress, a maximum security prison operated by the Mentel Corporation. As John's disobedience catches the attention of prison director Poe, and he gets in a beef with the prison's top bully, Maddox, can he find a way to escape? And just to take you through the cast of this movie, so John Henry Brennick is played by Christopher Lambert, and just to let you know, I think his name is actually pronounced Lambert, but I still love saying Lambert because that's how he was introduced to me somehow, so I'm still going to call him Lambert, and if you don't like it, I'm sorry, I can't fix it for you. His wife Karen is played by Lauren Lachlan. Prison director Poe is played by Kurtwood Smith. And Maddox is played by Vernon Wells. And you can read the rest of the main cast in the transcript. And if you'd like to see a trailer for Fortress, you can do that with the link in the links in this episode section over YouTube at HD Retro Trailers. So now that you understand the plot, let's talk about what's working well in this movie. First up, we gotta discuss Lambert and Friends, which is worth 2 points. It's hard to evaluate Christopher Lambert. He is not what you would call a good actor in the traditional sense of, hey, the way that guy pretends to feel things is convincing. For me, it isn't. But as a presence in your movie, Christopher Lambert is a slice of awesome, and this counts a whole lot more here. The guy can give you some facial expressions that don't seem to fit the moment, more on this later, but what does he really bring to the table? Number one, his voice. There's an inimitable rasp to anything Lambert says that rolls a little piece of confusing badass into it. He's the Elvis of laughing. The guy can utter a ha ha ha, and you'll love him for it. It's like a laugh that simultaneously soothes the baby to sleep or kickstarts a woman into ovulation. The internet suggests that 2 factors give him his distinctive gravelly voice. 1, years of smoking. 2, because he originally appeared in a lot of French language material and learned English later, he has developed his distinct intonation and accent. He also does the Lambert stare, which is like the answer to Magnum from Zoolander. It's a 7.0 magnitude earthquake in the heart of all straight ladies, no doubt. And he does the Lambert smirk, as fierce and cunning as the smile of a coyote. There are some more fun faces in the cast. We've got B-movie all-star Jeffrey Combs, who people love from Reanimator. He plays a hacker who you know is the tech guy because he's the one with glasses. He's good at typing the word virus and making your computer have one. Yes, that's pretty much how it works here. Or removing and disassembling intestinators if need be. More on just what the hell those are in a minute. And we've got the mighty Wes from Mad Max 2, aka the Road Warrior. You know the guy who romps around in assless chaps and a mohawk? Yeah, that mighty Wes, also known as Vernon Wells, plays a bully here. And he brings his malice and mayhem in all the right bursts. Next, let's talk about how the film has a few good ideas, which is worth 3 points. Psychic torture, watching dreams, lasers for prison bars. Fortress likes itself some little ideas that give you some flavor to this prison. Some of them are well-trodden, like an evil supercomputer that's in charge of it all, named Z10. But some of these tricks are new, and the intestinators are the kings of it all. The fun part about going to this prison? Your introduction to the new environment is having a machine force you to swallow a metal ball that presumably lodges itself in your intestines. Like a shock collar for your large or small digestive sac, whenever you misbehave, Warden Poe can, quote, intestinate you, giving you excruciating pain or even exploding the charge in the little sphere and bursting you to pieces from the inside. Blech. Now for my favorite piece of good things, a silly ending, which is worth 3 points. And just to let you know, here are some heavy spoilers coming up. So if you don't want to hear them, go ahead and use that chapter skip to the next section. Oh boy. This film's ending was horrendous, but it was that delicious type of horrendous that lands it in the positive points. John, Karen, and Nino have escaped the prison in a not-so-futuristic semi-truck, sans trailer, which I think borrows some of the sound effects from the DeLorean in Back to the Future. Karen goes into labor, but they push on to the Mexican border. Even though we've seen a dystopian future with heavy security at the Canadian border and a state-of-the-art underground prison, all our trio of heroes has to do here to get them to Mexico is smash through the chain-link fencing and cross. So even in this imagined future, Mexico has still not paid for that wall. Haha. Or as Mr. Lambert would say, Karen, writhing in pain at the baby coming loose and absolutely no medication, understandably screams, "I'm never gonna have this baby! It's never gonna come!" And in the most Christopher Lambert moment of all time, John says, smiling cynically, "Yeah, right." The tiniest shred of compassion for his ailing wife, mother of his child, nowhere to be found here. Anyhow, from here, the movie descends into a bad version, if there is such a thing, of Maximum Overdrive. Z10 takes over the semi. It runs down Nuno. Lambert, also known as John, secures Karen in the barn and faces off against the rampaging truck. He blasts the semi as it barrels toward him. He runs out of ammo, trying to mow it down, but no worries. He switches to a flamethrower, which lights the truck on fire but does nothing to stop it. But I guess that confuses Z10's driving because she swerves to the side of him instead of continuing straight and flattening him. So Z10 crashes the semi into the barn where Karen is, and everything explodes because of course it does. In slow motion, Lambert, again also known as John, screams an emphatic, echoing, dramatic "No" as he watches on. But it's fine. There's a baby's cry, and Karen has inexplicably taken cover elsewhere and delivered her own baby while she was at it. She didn't bother to call out to John to let him know where she was, and clearly had complete confidence he would survive whatever the hell battle he was taking on, because she's not surprised to see him in the least. The film ends, which is too bad. I'd have loved a scene or two of the couple integrating into Mexican society, with Lambert in a stereotypical sombrero trying to pull off Spanish. This movie features an alternate ending in some versions, and according to the plot summary on Wikipedia, this is it. So if you plunk down to watch this film, find this version. The one floating around on Tubi has this upgraded into it. So now let's get into what's not working so well in this movie. First, we have to discuss the film's dodgy acting, which is going to take away 3 points. Lauren Lachlan, as Karen, doesn't have Christopher Lambert's powers of bad acting that stumbles into working. I don't want to be unkind to her. She looks great on screen, but couldn't seem to find a rhythm or chemistry in her performance. And Kurtwood Smith, so menacing as Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop or hilarious as Red Foreman in that 70s show, seemed off it in this role. Maybe the blame lies with how his character, prison director Poe, is more needy than menacing. He's way too into watching the prisoner's sex dreams, presumably because in his half-cyborg state, he lacks the parts to act out his human desires. More on this in a minute. He's a weenie without a weenie, just doing Zed Ted's bidding. The film should have given him some "can you fly, Bobby" moments to play with. It's a crap impression, but maybe you know that line from RoboCop. Imagine what sick and twisted, don't give half a fuck about a thing Clarence Boddicker would do with those intestinators. Next, let me tell you how the film is derivative and has a weak narrative, which takes away 2 points. You know you're in for a dodgy script the moment the prison's loudspeaker system has to do the dirty, heavy-handed, unnatural exposition work of explaining the facility's existence. The plot here revolves around a corporation operating a prison, much like RoboCop's privatization of the police force. There are one-child policies in full force, harking back to overpopulation sci-fi films like Logan's Run or Soylent Green, which I actually haven't seen but should. And while bumping up against these types of sci-fi is no crime, I can't say it carves out many new directions. However, the real problem is that it is littered with little baffling moments. Karen and John try to trick the pregnancy scanners in the opening sequence as they attempt to cross the US-Canadian border. She wears a flak jacket that blocks the scanner's rays or something. Well, their plan fails because the border officers notice her flak jacket poking out of the top of her outfit. 1, you wonder if turtlenecks don't exist in this future, and 2, why the hell are they putting people in ultrasound machines without checking their clothes? There are Cyborgian soldiers, made from babies stolen from female prisoners' wombs and altered. But these advanced soldiers have the aim of shitbags and the coordination of Ed 209 on a staircase. Ba-ching, another RoboCop reference. Prison director Poe is no mastermind. He has a trustee in the same cell as John, the guy he keeps punishing for insubordination, as if this physical link between his lackey and biggest enemy won't backfire. And he takes the wife of his foe, John, for himself, seeming completely surprised when, oh shit, it turns out this woman I took against her will, the wife of my enemy, is helping my enemy and undermining me because I let her in here all the time. Some could argue these somewhat brainless actions fit this movie, which is not taking itself seriously. But for me, it's like serving me pasta where you didn't bother to fully drain the water after you cook the noodles. You can still eat it, but you're leaving things just that little bit soggier than they could have been, impacting the taste. Next, you have to give no props to the props, which takes away 2 points. The underground prison that is the fortress, all metallic and full of irrational stairs and ramps, looks adequate. And there's the worst tilt-a-whirl punishment or best astronaut training rig, a giant metal thing like Leonardo da Vinci's drawing of a man with circles around it that effectively spins John or whatever other victim in awkward, annoying ways that are hard to endure. But the production occasionally falls short. The prisoners are forced to mine, and it's an unconvincing set. The low point is when they toss what looks like foam rocks into a small loader truck and don't even try to sell the weight of them. We encounter these cyborg troops who are far more grotesque than menacing. And when John steals one of their weapons, we see how unimaginative and plastic it is, that ammo belt never diminishing or even looking like ammunition. So adding it all up, Fortress nets itself just 1 point. Still, on my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, I'm going to give it my should I watch rating. I'll explain why this exception is being made. Fortress has its fans, and I don't want to, as the little kids say, yuck somebody's yum. It has some fun scenes thanks to a few twisted ideas, and it is stacked with B-movie all-stars, including the incomparable Christopher Lambert. Plus, in some versions, you'll get an all-too-memorable ending for all the wrong reasons. But it blends dodgy acting, derivative ideas, and a weak narrative to get there. So as a general audience, no, don't seek this movie out. The reviews tell the whole story. That being said, I'll keep the door open that if you enjoy the release of a not-so-great sci-fi film that you can just kick back with, perhaps Fortress is your ticket. So that upgrades it a bit, in my view. The legacy of Fortress. So what's the legacy of Fortress? Well, it does have in some circles that so-called cult following. Fans of 90s action and B-movies keep it warm in their canon. Some might say its warnings and themes about supermax prisons run by corporations and dystopian stuff like a military state and one-child policies make it a relevant piece of fiction. But many other works have expressed this idea more effectively. These themes are more about entertainment value here, which is fine with me for the record. Not every film needs to have a deeper meaning beyond its entertainment value. The film was successful enough to warrant a sequel titled Fortress 2: Re-Entry, which was released straight to video in 2000. Christopher Lambert did reprise his role as John, but Stuart Gordon was not back in the director's chair. Original writers Troy Neighbors and Steven Feinberg did pen this sequel though. The sequel sets John in a new prison, a space station in outer space, which is kind of a silly sentence because any space station would be in outer space, where he must escape and destroy it in the process. This movie was not well received, with low ratings on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, or Letterboxd. Strangely enough, there is a 1985 Australian thriller called Fortress, which tells the story of a schoolteacher and her students fleeing into a cave and building fortifications against 4 criminals who have kidnapped them out of the classroom. From the trailer, it's like a hardcore version of Home Alone. The criminals wear scary Santa Claus and duck masks or something, and carry shotguns, while the school teacher and her kids try to stick them with spears or drop rocks on them. Yikes. There is also a 2021 movie called Fortress, starring Bruce Willis, Jesse Metcalfe, and Chad Michael Murray. That too has a sequel, 2022's Fortress: Sniper's Eye. Lastly, there is a 2012 movie called Fortress about a B-17 bomber pilot. So I guess that's about a flying fortress. So yeah, there are a lot of films that like that title. Christopher Lambert, who played John, of course, has had a long and fruitful career. He's been in Highlander and its sequels, as well as roles in 1995's Mortal Kombat or 2011's Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. What I did not know about him is that he has written 2 books, owns a mineral water business, a food processing plant, and a winery. The guy has severe myopia, so he can't see much at all without his glasses. It states online that he cannot wear contacts, so he has to perform virtually blind. Maybe this is why some of his expressions are so off-putting to me. I read that apparently Lambert beat out the great Viggo Mortensen and someone I had not heard of named Stellan Skarsgård to play Tarzan in an 80s film because, thanks to that myopia, he always seemed like he was staring in the distance, which they liked for the part. So I guess it's not always a disadvantage. But this fuzzy vision has led to him getting injured while performing his own stunts. Lauren Lachlan, who played Karen, is best known for this film, Wes Craven's TV movie Night Visions, a movie called Taking Care of Business, and TV appearances on shows like Frasier, Jag, and Home Improvement. She doesn't have any credits that I could find past 1999. Apologies to any actors I didn't highlight. For more director Stuart Gordon, you can check out episode 12 of this podcast, which revisits his film Robot Jox. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and if you haven't seen it yet and it does interest you, maybe you'll give Fortress a try. And if you have seen it, what do you think of the movie? Is it a lot better than I think it is? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript, or just search for Will Turntail. And if you liked this episode, would you take a minute or 2 of your time to leave me a review wherever you're listening from? I'm the only one that puts this show together, so so just 2 minutes of your time would really help me out, and I'd love to hear what you think of the show. Or, if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast come out on Tuesdays. Next week's episode is likely to be what some consider the first acid western, The Shooting. It's a kick-ass film full of tension that landed itself in the Criterion Collection, and it features a striking early performance from Jack Nicholson. Honestly, I already watched this movie and can tell you it is pretty special. And by special, I mean that art house, simple but great kind of way. So be sure to tune in to this one next week. This podcast episode is production copyright of Overrigged Media, LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. Introduction music, Neon Laser Horizon by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Exit music, Voxel Revolution by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Additional music, Beauty Flow and Aerosol of My Love by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Goodbye for now.